Hey everyone, W here. Back for a new playthrough. This time we'll be doing some Hades runs. I'll be doing runs with every aspect. So that's gonna be like, I don't know, how many? I think there are 5 weapons and 4 aspects each, so 20 in total. But the main thing for this that I was interested in, okay, I forgot about the shield. How could I forget about the shield? The 24 runs. Okay. So, the reason why I wanted to do this is because, I've been wanting to actually start getting back into Hades ever since the Hades 2 announcement at the VGAs. And we know it's a long ways off, but I just got that itch under my skin going. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing. So I'll be doing 1 run each of each aspect of each weapon. So we'll be doing 24 runs. The heat, I think we'll be doing around 16 to 20. That's what I'm most comfortable with. I did 32 heat. I think I did it once with each weapon. Just to get... Well, I think you only need to do 32 heat once to get the statue, but I didn't like seeing that only one of the weapons had 32 heat, so I just did... I ran it with every weapon. And that was really hard, so... yeah, I'm not going to be doing 32 heat for every weapon. So yeah, this is just an intro video. I thought for this I would go over the mirror and the heat settings that I'll be running, just so that I don't have to do it every time. And just give my opinions on them. So let's go through the mirror. We have Shadow Presence, which does bonus damage when you strike foes from behind. This is really helpful. As opposed to Fire Presence, which is 75% damage on undamaged foes. So I feel like this is a lot more helpful over time, just because it's not like you do a ton of damage at the start and then you don't do any extra damage. I think this procs on bosses too, so just like doing an extra 50% damage if you can get like a backstab on bosses, which it shouldn't be too hard, as opposed to just doing a bonus 75% at the start. This over time, I feel like this does much more damage. So we'll be running this, and we have Chthonic Vitality and Dark Regeneration. So you restore 60% of the darkness you collect as HP, as opposed to gaining 3 health each time you exit a chamber. This is very dependent, and it forces you to take rooms, whereas this doesn't care, and you always get health back. So I much prefer this. If I see like a darkness room versus a key room, I'd much rather grab the key room, because the keys give you rerolls, and those are much more important. So having 3 health returned every time you clear a room, as opposed to 60% of whatever darkness you get as a reward, I think this is much more helpful overall. And then Death Defiance versus Stubborn Defiance. So you get 3 extra lives, as opposed to every time your health gets depleted, you get 30% of your total HP back per chamber. So this is actually, I had some discussions with some friends about this, and when you're starting out, I can see how Stubborn Defiance is actually really good, but I much prefer Death Defiance. Especially because you know, I don't think the game is hard enough when you get to like, not until you get to the higher heats at least, where this is going to be useful. At high heats, this is definitely useful because you basically get revive every chamber. And that's going to be really, really helpful at super high heats where you can basically die, you know, in every chamber. So Stubborn Defiance is useful, but for what I'll be doing, I'm going to be running Death Defiance. Stubborn Defiance is also really good if you have Athena in your god pool, because she can get you extra revives if you lose your Stubborn Defiance. If you lose the Stubborn Defiance before you pick up her boon. So there is that. So yeah, but for my personal runs of this that I'll be doing, I'll be using Death Defiance for sure. Okay, so now we have Greater Reflex versus Ruthless Reflex. So Greater Reflex gives you an additional dash, whereas Ruthless Reflex gives you 50% damage and dodge chance for 2 seconds when you dash just before getting hit. So this is another really conditional mirror upgrade as opposed to Greater Reflex, which just gives you an extra dash. I might use Ruthless if on Gilgamesh, because Gilgamesh gives you an extra dash too, if I remember correctly. But for the most part, I'll be running Greater. Yeah, Greater Reflex is just overall more, I think it's just better. And then we have Boiling Blood, which is you deal bonus damage to enemies with cast stone inside of them, as opposed to Abyssal Blood, which reduces move speed and damage of foes. Generally in Hades, I feel like dealing more damage is better than debuffing enemies. So I think this Boiling Blood is just better. Dealing 50% more damage to enemies when they have a cast stone in them is quite a bit, as opposed to slowing them down and reducing their damage by 30%. Also, weirdly enough, reducing enemy move speed can sometimes interfere, or like it gets weird when enemies don't move as fast as you're used to. Sometimes it can trip me up. I find sorry. So yeah, I'll be running Boiling Blood, Infernal Soul. So this versus Stygian Soul. This is very dependent on what you're going for, actually. So especially the aspect you're running. Stygian Soul is really good for like cast aspects, especially casts that are how do I like persistent, I want to say is a good term for it. So things like Dionysus cast, Demeter's cast, maybe even Ares' cast. So it's really good for those because they persist, and you can probably get another cast out before the cast is over. And obviously you can do it with Inferno Soul, but once you get like chaos boons that increase your casts, Stygian Soul actually becomes pretty useful on those boons. So, but for the most part, I'll be running Infernal Soul, unless I want to do like a fun, weird, like cast build. The other thing that Stygian Soul has over Infernal Soul, I think, is you're not really limited to the number of casts you can put out. And that's why I said persistent casts really benefit from Stygian Soul, because with Infernal Soul you're basically limited to the 3 casts. Even if you like get more casts from Chaos, you can only send out those like 3 to 5 casts, maybe even 6. And then you have to wait for them to be over to pick up the cast stones. Whereas with Stygian Soul, you can just keep sending them out. It doesn't matter. So yeah. But for the most part, Infernal Soul, unless I want to do like, Crystal Beam or something. Anyway, we got Deep Pockets, which is start each escape attempt from Hades with 100 gold obols, as opposed to getting 5% of your current, or 15% of your current obols, or yeah, each time you clear a biome. So I want to say Deep Pockets is overall much better, because like getting 15% of 100 is 15, right? And then if you have 300, that's 45 obols. And I find myself usually having around 300 after each biome. So over the course of 3 biomes, that's like 130 obols. And so like there's really not much difference between Deep Pockets and the Golden Touch, but Deep Pockets gives you a head start, right? So I think that's much more useful. So we'll be running Deep Pockets, Thick Skin. Raise your total life +5 by rank. So you get 50 extra life, as opposed to High Confidence, where you deal bonus damage when your life total is at or above 80%. So again, High Confidence, very situational. Thick Skin, just useful all around. I'm not that great at the game, so I'm not going to have High Confidence be triggered for most of the run. It is a really good mirror upgrade if you're able to dodge a lot, or you're really good at dodging. And so like you'll get your damage out really quick. So yeah, if you're really good at High Confidence, definitely go for High Confidence. I'm gonna go for Thick Skin. But yeah, it's dependent. Okay, so we have Privilege Status versus Family Favorite. I've seen a lot of math being thrown around between these two on Reddit, and it just at the end of the day, I think okay, I think it's like whatever you want, but let's look at these. So Privilege Status, you deal bonus damage versus flows afflicted by at least 2 status curses. So you do 40% extra damage against enemies that have privileged status on them, as opposed to Family Favorite, where you deal plus 5% damage for every Olympian you have. So on a normal run, you would usually get 4 to 5. Actually, I think Hermes counts, so around 5 would be normal. Sometimes you might get up to 6, depending. So that's like 25 to 30 extra damage, 30% extra damage, as opposed to dealing 40% extra damage if you inflict 2 status curses on the enemy. So Privileged Status, surprisingly, is the conditional one versus Family Favorite. Most of the time, most of the purple mirror upgrades have been just, non-conditional, whereas the green mirror upgrades have been conditional. But yeah, I don't know. I think this really just depends on what kind of build you want, or whichever one you think is, whatever you think feels good. So Privileged Status, it's not that hard to set up. You just pick up 2 gods on your main attacks that have status curses that are easy to get, like Afro, Ares, Demeter, Dionysus. And then you put them on your 2 main attacks, and then you're good to go. As opposed to Family Favorite, where you get, 25% extra damage consistently. So yeah, it's really up to you. It's like a flavor choice for you to take. I usually run privileged status because it's not that hard to set up for me. Or like I said, well, I said for me, but like I said, it's not that hard to set up. Even the gods that don't have an obvious status curse built into their boons do have like status curses or boons that implement a status curse. So like for Zeus there's Jolted, for Athena there's I forget what it's called, I think Blinded or something, and Artemis has the crit status. Poseidon has Rupture. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to get privileged status up and running. So it's this boon or this mirror upgrade, it's really just up to you. It doesn't matter which one you pick, but I'll be running privileged status for most of it. In fact, I'll probably be running this for all of the runs that I do. Okay, Olympian Favor, which raises your chance for a boon to be rare, as opposed to oh geez, as opposed to Dark Foresight, raises your chance for boon, hammer, gold, and palm chambers. Yeah, I don't think you'll ever see, or you won't ever feel like you don't have enough of these chambers. It's just, yeah, honestly, I don't think you'll ever not feel like these 4 chambers are not going to show up when you don't need them or when you need them. As opposed to getting 40% extra chance to have your boon be rare. That's really helpful. Having your boons be of higher rank or rarity is much more useful than getting these chambers, because you're never not going to feel like these chambers aren't around. So Olympian Favor for sure. God's Pride, raise your chance for boons to be epic, versus God's Legacy, which raises your chance for boons to be legendary or duo. This is, I don't know. Honestly, I just run God's Pride because I get the duos that I look for more often than I don't. And when I don't get them, it feels bad, but 10% chance increase of getting a duo won't really affect that, right? In the grand scheme of things, 10% chance means that there's 90% chance that it's, or increasing the chance of a duo appearing by 10% is not that much higher. So I run God's Pride just because, but like you can do God's Legacy. It doesn't really, like 20% versus 10%. This is really just, if you're really gunning for a duo boon, then yeah, get God's Legacy. But if it doesn't really matter, then it doesn't matter which one of these you pick. So for the most part, I'll be running God's Pride. Like I did a couple runs just before, like the other day, and I got the duos that I wanted. So it's with God's Pride on. So yeah, it's just choose. If you feel like you need the push, then get God's Legacy. If not, God's Pride. Okay, and now we have Fated Persuasion. Randomly alter a boon and Will of Charon choices, as opposed to Fated Authority. Randomly alter the reward for the next chamber. Definitely Fated Persuasion. Altering the rewards for chambers is useful if you're doing like a meme run, like if you're doing what's that sword hammer where you get like more damage from the more gold you have. Like that would be really good. Fated Authority would be pretty good for that kind of run. But for the most part, Fated Persuasion, getting the chance to roll your boons so that you can get the boon that you want is a lot better. Because I think, yeah, it's a lot better because it gets you online faster. Oh, so yeah, Fated Persuasion. Yeah, so this is going to be the mirror setup that I have for most of my runs. If I do change stuff like Stygian, Infernal Soul, I'll point that out. Other than that, that's what I usually do for most of my runs. Especially because I'm not doing anything too difficult, I want to say. Yeah, so now we'll go over the Pact of Punishments that I usually run. Hard labor, I don't do. Like, why have enemies do more damage to you when you don't need it, right? And like it only goes up by 1, and there are 5 levels of it. Like, we don't need this in our life. Lasting consequences. Any healing effect restores less of your life total. So this is 25% each level. I feel like this isn't that much of a punishment if you do 1. Losing 25% of whatever your health, whatever was going to be restored to you, it's not too inhibiting. So I feel like 1 is an easy heat condition you can apply. Convenience fee. It's 40% increased prices at Charon's shop per rank. This also I feel like is an easy 1 heat to add. But you know, if you don't like it, then it's fine. You don't have to run convenience fee. I just don't think it's too big of a hurdle. Jury summons, you get more enemies, 20% per rank. This is another one of those, like, why would I want that if I want to have a good time? But hey, I don't think this is a difficult pact of punishment to run. But I might just eat my words. I haven't tried running jury summons at like full rank, so extreme measures. So I like go in between 3 and 4. I usually do extreme measures 3 if I'm not feeling confident in the aspects, in the weapons or the aspects of it that I'm running. But if I know I can do it, then I run extreme measure 4. So this basically alters the final boss of each biome, and they're really fun actually. So in some of the runs I'll be doing EM4, in some of them I'll be doing EM3. It just depends on what weapon and which aspect I'm running. So yeah, I'll make sure to note that. And then we have calisthenics program. All foes have higher life totals. I also don't think like putting 1 into this is that bad, but I could be wrong. But it's like the same logic as hard labor. Why make things harder to kill? And why make things hit you harder when you're just trying to have fun, right? So yeah, I don't run calisthenics program, or like 16 to 20 heat. Doesn't really seem like something I would enjoy just for fun. Benefits package. Most armored foes have perks. So it's 2 to 3. So if you max this out, you get 5 extra heat. Oh, and for for extreme measures, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you run extreme measures 4, you get an extra 10 heat. Right? Oh, that's not the one I was on. But benefits package, I do add this just because it might make the encounters harder, but it actually makes them a bit more fun because, for me at least, because it changes how you deal with the random mooks that you fight. And for me personally, that's fun. That's a fun way to deal with things, right? So I usually run at least one benefits package. Middle management changes each mini boss encounter. This is an easy 2 heat, I feel. It doesn't make them harder, it just does something different for them. So but depending on your definition of difficulty, it might make the mid bosses harder. But I personally like middle management. I think it's an easy 2 heat to add. Same for Underworld customs actually. I don't usually run Underworld customs because I personally don't see the need for it. But if you want to increase your heat easily, then I wouldn't say Underworld customs is a bad one to choose. It's a free 2 heat. You can always pick up a boon that you want to trash. So yeah, Underworld customs for sure. This is also why Fated Authority is really good, because you can re-roll the I forget what it's called, but the cell shop, you can re-roll it. So yeah. And then we have and then we have Forced Overtime, which is 3 heat per rank. And all foes have bonus move speed and attack speed. I don't feel like 1 rank in this is too bad. I also don't feel like 2 ranks in this is too bad. So I feel like this might be an easy 6 heat to add. But again, it just depends on like your skill level really. So 1 rank of Forced Overtime I'm super comfortable with. 2 ranks in it I might be a little less comfortable with, but I don't think I'd be like struggling too hard to the point where I'll be unable to get a clear with any of them or any of the aspects. I'll see how I feel later on. I might turn Forced Overtime up to level 2, but we'll see. Heightened Security. All traps in magma deal plus 400% bonus damage. The fact that this is 1 heat is a crime. I'm just going to say that out right now. The fact that this is 1 heat is a crime. Like, sure, you can get Sure Footing from Athena where it'll reduce trap damage by like 90%, but I honestly think this should not be 1 heat. I don't like this one personally. I don't think this is an easy 1 heat to add onto your heat level. I think this is kind of BS. Routine Inspection. Your talents from Mirror of the Night are deactivated from the bottom up. So this basically deactivates the bottom 3 of your mirror, and then it keeps going up. I'm not sure I'd ever run Routine Inspection. I think Fated Authority is way too good to even consider doing this. Yeah, I don't think the 8 heat to max this out is worth it. I don't think putting point in this to increase your heat level by 2 is worth it. But I don't know. Okay, next one we have damage control. All foes have a shield, which makes them ignore initial instances of damage. So this is actually sorry, geez. Depending on the weapon you're running, this is actually not bad. This is an easy 1 to 2 heat add on to your heat level, because if you're running like let's say you're doing the rail, everything that's not the one rail aspect where you do extra damage for the first shot you do after you reload, this is an easy 1 or 2 extra heat that you can add. Same for the fists, I want to say. So yeah, depending on the weapon you're running, depending on the aspects you're doing with it, this is a pretty easy way to increase your heat. And then we have approval process, where you have fewer choices when offered boons, items, or upgrades. This is what I call the don't have fun Pact of punishment. I don't think I'll ever run this. Maybe one, but I don't know. This doesn't feel good. And then we have tight deadline. Each rank you decrease the amount of time that you have in each biome, and each rank increases the restriction by 2 minutes. So I usually run at least 1 point in tight deadline, but I find myself being able to clear biomes in less than 7 minutes most of the time. 5 minutes is a bit much for me personally, but yeah, this is an easy 3 heat, if I'm being honest. With myself, at least. I could probably do 7 minutes, but you know, if I want to take my time and have a little fun, be a bit more relaxed, it's not a hard 1 heat to add. So yeah, depending on how I feel, I might get rid of lasting consequences and convenience fee in favor of forced overtime, or I might just add forced overtime the more runs I get in. But this is mostly going to be the heat setup. Sometimes I'll be doing EM4, sometimes I won't. So yeah, like I said, sometimes I'll be doing EM4, sometimes I'll be doing force overtime plus 40. But for the most part, this is what I'll be doing. And yeah, those are my heats or Pact of Punishment settings and my Mirror of Night settings. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this run through that I did of the settings that I'm doing. And in the next video, we'll be doing a run with the aspect of Zagreus on the sword. Not my favorite. This is not my favorite weapon type. This is probably my least favorite weapon of the 6 weapons that we have. But it's the first one that we get and the first one on the list. So I hope you guys look forward to it, and I'll see you all later. Bye.